Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Markremeetsworld. I'm your host, Mark Levy, and I am so thankful that you guys tuned in today to watch. First off, I'm going to answer your question. Where have I been? Where have you been? You did 8 episodes, and now it would disappear. Now you're back on a different channel? Okay, guys. So as you know, I've been battling depression, and more important, and also important, I've been battling a lack of feeling creative, and that is something that I did not want to talk about too much. And I've recently gotten myself back to feeling creative, and I'm now back on the swing of doing Markremeetsworld. It's gonna be Tuesdays now on my actual YouTube page, and I think you guys are gonna enjoy it. And I thank you guys for your patience. Thank you for watching, of course, because this matters to me, and I really, really want to dive in. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and we're getting now to like the great episodes, get better episodes of Boy Meets World. Um, I want to say this also: if you're feeling depressed, especially now, there's a lot of great places you can reach out to, if you need to. And there's going to be links in the descriptions about this. So I thank you guys for your patience. I'm feeling creative again, and I'm back. I don't know if every episode is going to be like an hour long, like they sometimes are, but they are going to be. They're going to be back. That's what matters the most, and I really want to be rewatching this with you guys. So if you have not watched this episode, we are on episode 9, Class Preunion. So please press pause, and then we'll watch this together. Cool, you're back. Okay, so when I come back from the jump, you'll see me and my friend Josh Benjamin talking about Boy Meets World, episode 9. Bye. All right, we are back, and I am unbelievably excited. I got one of my better friends here, the one, the only Josh Benjamin, who's returning again.
What's
How
up,
are you,
guys?
man?
Good to be. I'm great, man. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Enjoying this weather, I guess. I don't know. It seems
Yeah,
like
it's
fine.
very overcast up by me,
Yeah,
and yet it's still very humid. But that's New York City in August. What are you gonna do?
New York, you gotta love it. The city of
Yeah.
dreams. So, for those that don't know, we were watching episode 9, Class Preunion. It aired on November 26, 1993, directed by David Trainer, of course, and written by Ed Decter and John J. Strauss. The plot of the episode, it's all about what would be the 20th reunion for them from the senior year. That's the A plot. The B plot is Morgan gives exchanges jewelry, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. The A plot is something that obviously everyone can relate to. The B plot, something that it's not a conventional plot line per se, but you can absolutely appreciate the lesson that's trying to be taught because it's relatable. Still very
Yeah,
much.
and also what's really nice is like the A plot. The hypothetical is this year.
Yeah. That's
I
right. I
like
didn't
to,
realize that. Yeah.
yeah, because the show ended 2000. They say class of 2000. Finney says class 2000 top, like when he's talking about that,
Yep.
and that's yeah.
And here we are in the year 2020, and Corey Matthews is very much not the starting center fielder for the Philadelphia Phillies.
No, no, yeah, I yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Yankees are playing the Phillies right now. I would know. I watched them yesterday and earlier this week. There is no Corey Matthews on the roster.
But there is an empty baseball stadium with a couple cardboard cutouts.
Yeah, and the Phillies uniforms are very much the same. Still rocking that
Right,
red
that's
and white
always been the
pinstripes.
same, right? Like that's the most.
That uniform that's been their go-to home uniform for over 20 years at this point, almost 30, I'd say.
Damn.
Yeah, because they had they've always had pinstripes, from what I remember, but they
Okay.
didn't. But the ones in the '80s, it was like a pinstripe, almost maroon, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Cool.
And now it's more of a crimson, and the road uniforms, it was also that maroon shade I just mentioned, but instead of traditional gray like we see now, it was more like a powder blue.
And now you guys know why I wanted Josh for this episode.
Big baseball
Because
guy, folks,
he's a big, big baseball guy and
and
a
Mike
great
keeps
friend.
falling
And
down.
yeah. All right. So let's talk about the top of the episode. We start with Eyewitness Corey,
Yep.
happens in the beginning and the end of the episode, and it's really fun seeing him. I don't know why I always love the low camera angle of a child.
Yeah, I mean, And I also appreciate how even though it's eyewitness Corey, you could tell when right before he drops the camera, he's putting like the little watch up there, a la 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
But also, you're a big movie guy. I can only imagine how much you dicked around with the family video camera as a child.
Oh, so much. I mean, I wanted to be a filmmaker until I was like ninth, until like 10th grade, like direct movies.
Yeah.
But I liked acting more, so I decided to do that instead.
Yeah, I remember when my little brother Brandon was born, my stepfather Nick, he was big into the video camera, was using it, and
yeah,
I was a big fan of the show Bobby's World.
Oh God, I love that show so much.
Right, and so I would just imagine all the episodes where Bobby, like little 4 or 5 year old Bobby, walking around the video camera, like, "How's the house today? Here's me filming the family." And I'm like, great, I'm going to do that because my family's so uptight. I'm going to try and get them to snap.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't let me play with the video camera.
Oh, well, probably for best. I don't know. I do love the fact that like Korea is calling Saskatchewan to hear Canadian accents. I'm like, that's great.
That's you wanted to hear him talk Canadian.
Oh my God, I love it so much.
Kind of like the Simpsons episode where Bart calls Australia. Let's find, okay, what kid would do that, but would dumb it even down further than Bart? And then Saskatchewan, Canada. My friend Roger went to school in Canada, not Roger, who you know.
Yeah.
And he had a friend who was from that part of the country, and apparently there's a running joke in Saskatchewan where your dog can run away from home, 3 days later you'll know where he is and not leave the house just because it's so flat there.
Yeah. Well, when I went to Canada, I only went to like Montreal and drove up from Vermont, and I remember it being so fucking flat, and it was like a dreary day, and it was just like kind of gray and just flat vastness.
Yeah, Quebec is kind of plainsy.
Yeah, lots of farms we saw.
I've never driven through rural Quebec, but I do remember in college, a couple of friends and I, we drove to Toronto from upstate New York. That was about a 6-hour drive. And that was a very interesting drive because you had to drive up through Rochester, through Buffalo. So you're seeing all this kind of mountainous countryside as you cross into New York State and then cross the border. And crossing the border, it's so Canadian. It's just like, all right, boys, what's your business in Canada?
Yeah.
They're so I love every minute of it. So just imagine what Corey's phone call was like. Oh, so young man, you're calling from Philadelphia. Talk Canadian. Sorry, we speak English. Sorry to disappoint. Well, hope you have a nice day. Click.
It's just a really fun thing for a sitcom, you know. Like, yeah, and like so the way like I don't know. I just imagine like the excuse of let's talk Canadian, you know, like it's just fun.
It's just the entire show kind of has a very Growing Pains vibe to it, except that Ben Seaver was running the show instead of Mike.
Yeah. Can we talk about immediately after the credits? Basically, we now have 2 scenes from Hamilton on Disney Plus.
I'm sorry?
So right after the credits, they have the scene between King George and George Washington. And that doesn't quite happen in Hamilton because all King George's songs are solos. Yeah. But like that type of stuff is definitely talked about in Hamilton.
Yeah, I mean, like I can't remember if I saw that part because I saw the scene where Mr. and Mrs. Williams they're kind of getting into it on the couch and then the kids pop up.
Well, that's at the end. That's at
right.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking pre-credits.
No, so after opening credits.
Opening credits. Okay, yeah, okay. I got confused.
Don't worry, it's all good.
I thought there was a second scene for a second. Yeah, that was great. You got King George, who of course is represented by Minkus, and he's actually done it.
And Minkus George Washington is Corey himself. So
Minkus would also totally play King George in that school's production of Hamilton.
I just imagine with the Groff spit coming out and all that stuff.
Yeah, he'd do that too. Not just because that's how it is. He'd do it just because he could.
Yeah.
Just because like
this is a very weird Minkus episode. I can't wait to talk about it. This is a big
Minkus. Yeah, Minkus is a very underrated character, and in this episode, he gets a lot of screen time. He has all of his bases covered per usual. Very entertaining. Very entertaining.
I want to talk about like the simple fact that like you and me are the same age. We're both in our mid-30s, and we are approaching our 20th high school reunion.
Yes, we are.
In theory, I am. Although, weird fact about my high school sucks with reunions. We've never had a reunion before.
My high school is kind of similar. Like, there was definitely a 10-year gathering. I saw pictures on Facebook. I didn't go. Obviously, I never got anything in the mail about it. I don't really have it. It's weird because they're not even so much reunions. In the summertime, usually around early June, my high school will have what they call young alumni nights.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And I went to a few immediately after I was in college just because I was still friendly with some teachers. It was a good time to see other friends who I hadn't seen in a while. But now we've all kind of no one's really on social media anymore that I talked to from high school. Like the one friend from my graduating high school class who I still talk to, we just text each other. And me, my wife Caitlin, he and his wife, all four of us are really tight still. Like, we're practically family. Cool. So yeah, it's like, I don't know. With the whole concept of high school reunions, there's almost, especially now, some sort of weird anxiety to it because you see it in the episode. There's this pressure to come back as something. And they're, hey, I live in New York City. I'm a freelance writer, and other people. I'm a personal trainer. I am a corporate lawyer, and then you're like, oh, all right. Well, I'm going to go over here now. Yeah, as I wheel myself out of the frame for that 10 seconds. My headphones are too short. Okay.
But it's so weird that we are at 15 years right now, you know?
Yes, 16 for me.
Yeah, 16 because 2004 was me also.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's that weird thing of I just remember when 14 years came around, the president of the class is like, we can try to get something together. We don't have everyone's information, but we can try, and nothing happened.
How big was your graduating class?
It was big. It was 600, 700.
Yeah, mine was 40 something.
Yeah.
Very small private school, par for the course in New York.
Public school, 3,300 kids. So.
Yeah. And as far as I know, most of my classmates, with the exception of maybe three, I'll say, we're all still very much in the general New York City area or within driving distance.
Oh yeah, that's so much easier. Because
but even then, there's nobody keeps in touch on social media. We'll comment on stuff here and there, but we don't really go out of our way to hang out. That's
true.
Yeah. It's
we all have.
We're over 30. We spent years together. Are you alive? Great. Moving on.
Yeah. It's that funny thing of because this episode makes you think as an adult, am I doing exactly what I want to do?
Yeah.
I'm close to what I want to do. I'm definitely in the ballpark.
I'm absolutely in the ballpark too, because I knew from an early age that I wanted to do something creative, with writing or something like that. It started out as the goal of going to school, majoring in theater, then getting a job on Saturday Night Live, working my way up to head writer, then maybe having my own show in New York or Los Angeles, wherever.
Yeah.
And then I learned you know this from experience, just the dirty politics of performing arts, especially on the collegiate level.
Oh God, don't get me started on that.
Yeah, I decided after 2 years that wasn't for me. I shifted towards another passion of mine, history. And I figured, you know what? Let me find a piece of history that I enjoy enough that I can turn it into a career. And that's how I got into sports writing.
For me, I've just been pursuing acting the whole time. But I'm finally getting somewhere as an actor. And then the pandemic happened, and I'm still trying my ass off to get where I want to be, even if it's
the good thing about all of it is that in the midst of everything, especially during a pandemic, you are constantly creating content.
I did take a long time off. During this pandemic.
You did take a long time off, and which you were more than allowed to do. You were marathoning podcasts and other creative projects at a very high rate. But you're like me, we're happiest when we're busy. And the more irons we have in the fire, the more motivated we feel. And I think that, excuse me, and I think that even though you're not, for lack of a better word, a big name actor yet, I think that this is absolutely helping up your recognition. So people, regardless of if they've seen it, they're going to know who you are.
And also, a fun fact is that this will not be on the Markremeetsworld YouTube channel anymore. It's going to be on my actual YouTube channel. I'm going to be uploading all the other episodes onto my own YouTube channel.
Great.
Because that's been doing a lot better for me. Doesn't matter.
Like, subscribe, and favorite, folks.
Please work so hard at these, and I love doing these. I do love doing these. Like, I just took that time off because I needed it. I was going through a lot, and I didn't feel like talking about nostalgia. Now I'm back to it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've taken breaks from writing fiction before, and then sure enough, last year I said, you know what, I'm ready to get back into fiction, and I wrote my first book.
And it's fucking incredible. I'm so proud of you, dude.
Thanks, man. Now I just need an agent and a publisher.
I want to get back to a very fun thing in this episode.
Yes.
So it's the first time that we see a third best friend in theory since the third episode. I'm sure you noticed that also, right?
Yeah.
Larry, he's not a third best friend, but he kind of is.
Who names their child Larry, by the way?
No idea. This is 1993, but I've never met a Larry. Well,
every Larry.
One of my best friends is Lawrence. So Lawrence, Larry.
I have a Lawrence who's one of my best friends too, and only a select number of family members call him Larry. Everyone else, he's either Lawrence or Wang, because that's his last name. Yeah. He's just there, and I gotta give Larry credit. He went the route I probably would have gone, or someone else.
Larry's a smart ass, man.
Yeah, just brown nosed Mr. Feeney.
Fun fact about Larry.
Real quick backtrack. Just want to point out the beginning of the episode. It's King George and George Washington. John Adams moderating the debate. Mr. Feeney was John Adams in 1776.
Yep. Oh my god, it's so funny. So a fun fact about Larry, played by Marty York, who I looked up because I'm like, I want to know the information about the third best friend.
Sure.
He has the same this actor was also the same in the Sandlot, as was the third best friend.
In the Sandlot?
Yeah. The other one, I forget his name. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna look it up right now. But they both were in the Sandlot, like the movie that we watched as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember if I could place his face in the movie.
What was it?
I mean, it's been
because
so
he
long.
was and the other one was Chauncey Leopardi, who played Squints.
All right. I remember Squints more than I remember. Yeah, it's been so long since I watched The Sandlot too.
Yeah.
I think the last time I watched The Sandlot was when you and I were trying to do 365 movies in the entire year of 2016.
Oh, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. God,
that's a great it's just a weird, funny fact. I'm just like, oh, okay. Like everyone is like, it's like there's like a requirement in 1993 for the third best friend in Boy Meets World. You have to be in an episode or two.
Yep.
And you have to be on The Sandlot.
There's got to be like some weird law of child acting 90s physics or whatever. I butchered that sentence entirely. No, there's got to be some weird law of the universe where if you look through all the various TV sitcoms that centered on kids in the 90s, and then look at all the kids who made an appearance on it, like during their preteen years, chances are they'll either be in The Sandlot or some other coming-of-age film in the early mid-90s.
Or eventually in Clueless. Clueless has like every actor ever in that.
Seriously.
Also, let's talk about Larry's idea about being Feeney, which I think is really a smart idea. Smart-ass idea, but smart idea.
There's always going to be that one kid who figures that brown-nosing the teacher to an A is going to be the ideal route. It never works. It never works.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, to have someone who's willing to do that, you have to figure Mr. Feeney has had some sort of effect on Larry. Just for him to have not just the suit, but the same sweater vest.
And he did a really good job of aging himself up to look like Feeney, which I was
like there was a little talc in the hair for sure.
Yeah. And a little face on mustache. Like it was great.
Yep.
Yeah, and also, like, I want to get back to this lunch scene because it's revealed that Corey has 31 errors in Little League.
First off,
he wants to be what?
First off, who's keeping track?
Apparently, Sean.
Sean would keep track.
But like, how many games are there in a Little League season? Like 15?
20? No, not even that. I remember because I played Little League and it was 1 or 2 days a week, but of those 2 days, only one was on games. The rest was all drilling
Uh-huh.
and like scrimmages and stuff. I'd say that a little league season, start to finish, is I'd say 15 is the minimum, maybe the max for New York. Some might go as high as 20. Little league's weird because like there because yeah, you'll have the city league or the neighborhood league that you play in, but then there's also travel teams that a lot of kids play on.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, whereas Corey was almost absolutely staying on one of these local teams.
Right. It's just fascinating to me,
Yeah, it's such a strange culture too, because we're actually, oh god, this makes me so sad. We're at the time of year right now when ESPN would normally be starting the Little League World Series, and you'd be and oh god, I remember when we were on vacation once. This was when I must have been 17. We got back from dinner. I turned on ESPN like I always do when I come home from vacation, and I forget who the other team was, but the winning team was from Saugus, Massachusetts.
Uh-huh.
And this little chubby kid got the game-winning hit, and they're interviewing him afterward. He's like 11, and sure enough, this kid, 11 years old, he goes, "I just had to run as hard as I could. I love coming here to the park." Like this kid's auditioning. He's 11. He's already a Goodwill Hunting parody.
Oh my god, so great! I love it. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's such a strange culture because you have these kids who eat, sleep, live, and die baseball, and all of a sudden they're going. These are like I think 9 to 13-year-olds, maybe 9 to 11, 9 to 12, who are going up against teams with kids the exact same age, but are from all around the world. Like I remember a few years ago, the national Little League team from Curacao, down by South America.
Wow.
I think either made the finals or came pretty close. Japan always fields a great team.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like it's for me, I think I told you before, my only sport that I tried to play ever was basketball, and I only scored at like 4 points ever. But I did once score 2 points for the other team, which proves how bad I am at basketball. But I love basketball, as you know. Go Miami Heat. Yeah.
I'm not even going to acknowledge the Knicks right now.
They don't even exist right now.
They are not in the Orlando bubble, but you know what? We're going to get good draft position. We have a great new coach in Tom Thibodeau, so things are looking up.
We'll see what happens, right? Let me see what's next thing I want to talk about. I thought that making the baseball scene was just really adorable. Yeah. Like it just was really like it's one of the we'll talk a little bit more about it. We'll talk about it now because like we have a lot about Amy Matthews this episode. It's just one of those like really good like Amy Matthews is a good mom scenes. That's all it is. It's great. It's got a lot of good heart to it.
Yeah. Amy Matthews, I mean, she may look sweet and all hugs for the most part, but this episode proves like no, she can go into lioness mode when the situation calls for it. And I think that the her and Morgan storyline is absolutely ideal because how many times as a kid did your parents let you borrow something nice just so you could look cool?
Yeah.
And then it turns out like, oh, like this isn't just a toy. You gotta actually like be responsible with this. Like my lesson for me was my dad's baseball cards.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah, because now granted, there wasn't anything. There weren't any like major big names in the collection, but it was just the principle of like, hey, like this stuff isn't important to just you. It's important to everybody else as well.
Yeah.
Like, don't go playing fast and loose with it. And then just there's like a great lesson of privilege mixed in because Morgan's friend this episode, Stephanie,
is like. Yes, and she's like her mom has that weird transatlantic accent that you hear every once in a while on the show.
Yeah, she's got that very got a very Emily Gilmore vibe.
Yeah,
going.
But yeah, I mean it's like she exchanges a nice piece of jewelry, like gold jewelry, for plastic.
Yeah,
which is a colorful piece. It's just cool looking, but I mean,
but
gold versus plastic.
Yeah, and then she kind of hoodwinks Stephanie by trading the plastic tiara back for the necklace and all the clothes. And then there's a joke with the car keys.
Yeah.
And it's also a very accurate depiction of life in the Philly suburbs. because you've heard me talk about the show The Goldbergs a couple of times.
Yes, you're a big fan of the Goldbergs.
Yes, and you will be too once you start watching, because
I know. I need to watch it. I know.
You, me, and Adam K. Goldberg are collectively the same person.
Okay, I believe you.
Yeah. But anyway, so Jeff Garlin, who plays the dad Murray, they live in a very nice house. He owns a furniture store, or manages a furniture store. Whereas on Boy Meets World, Alan Matthews, that's the name. Yeah. Alan works he manages a supermarket, but had dreams of building bridges.
Which is I can't wait to talk about that.
Okay, so all right, we'll get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
But then, sure enough, Morgan, who her dad runs a supermarket, and her mom, I forget what Amy does for
her mom's a realtor, but she does a lot of like small weird things. But
yeah, Amy wears a lot of hats, and so then all of a sudden for Stephanie, and to come from a very well-off family where dad's an attorney, mom drives a really nice car and is able to live as a housewife.
Yeah,
that's very accurate for Philadelphia, because you'll see just those various cross sections in the suburbs, where the incomes don't necessarily, it's not like consistent across the board, but you'll see various walks of life.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I can't words well sometimes.
You're good. It was a good setup for like what's gonna happen. The B plot doesn't really happen until like the last 8 minutes of the episode.
Yes.
We spend so much time in the next scene with the class of 2000, 20 years later.
Sure.
Where
yeah.
Minkus buys Microsoft.
Minkus would be a tech billionaire, wouldn't he?
And like him and Topanga have their child, Rainbow Einstein Minkus. And Topanga is the president of the United States, please.
Topanga was Elizabeth Warren before Elizabeth Warren was a thing.
Actually, Topanga was Elizabeth Warren meets Wonder Woman, basically, because like, the way
yeah.
she describes what the guys would do is sort of like Amazonia in for Wonder Woman, you know?
Yeah.
Like how it's an all-woman-run society.
Yeah.
All respect, all that great stuff. The only issue is that guys are underground for breeding only.
Yeah, and I love how, this is in relation to the entire show, I love how even as the characters aged, their mannerisms did not change.
Not at all.
Like, because normally in childhood, like you hit a certain age, then you lose certain mannerisms, or for lack of a better word, tics, I'd say, or just like default motions. But no, Topanga, she's still got the sharp tongue. She can still turn up the passive aggressiveness just a little bit.
Yeah.
To make you think she's still being nice.
And then Larry magically appears, and he
Out of
is
nowhere.
like he's like right behind Feeney, and like while Feeney's walking around, and like he does a fairly dead on Feeney.
Yeah, like he carries himself. He's kind of has the whole like, oh, I'm academic.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm an academic child, man.
I'm a teacher. I love reading and books and weird music. Talking like I'm from New England. I'm old and I'm done with everything. I just turned Mr. Feeney into Katharine Hepburn.
I mean, we're gonna show the image of like that right now, of like how perfect it is.
Yeah, we are. Yeah,
oh yeah. But it's just so fucking great. Like I'm just like watching him like, this kid's doing this dead on.
Boy Meets World does a very good job of making the little things drop dead hilarious.
It's just like the show always cared, like about everything. Like especially at this point of the show, like when like they're really starting to like get going. Mm-hmm. Like this is like when the first season stops being meh, okay, to like really like things are going good.
Yeah, the overall tone of the show. This is kind of when it starts getting its legs underneath it.
It's not quite there yet, but it's like
it's learning. It's getting a better idea of what it wants to be, and then like by season 2, it's everything that we know and love.
Like they're learning how to use Topanga now. Like that. Like that's really the most important thing. Like big thing.
Yeah. And
they're realizing that Feeney can be fun. Well, they realized that a few episodes ago, but like
one thing I noticed about the show is that the overall feel of the writing, like everyone from the staff to the actors, everyone involved, there's more confidence with this episode.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how the timing worked out as to when the staff was told, hey, you're getting picked up for season 2, and then everyone can rest a little easier. But it's very clear that with this episode, everyone had a better idea of what they were doing. Everyone knew what they were doing better. Everyone was more comfortable, and the product showed it.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is definitely after they had the full season order, because I know they figured that out around, like, episode 5 or so, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Because,
because
Topanga was only there for one episode, then, like, she appears again at, like, episode 7. And she's there for
how much of a crush did you have on Topanga?
Honestly, not that much.
No, neither did I.
My big crush was Stephanie Tanner.
See, my big crush was DJ Tanner.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Still is.
Okay.
I don't care how much of a Jesus freak Candace Cameron is. Like, I still have a major crush on her. Nobody come hunting for me, please.
I mean, I think I'm over Jodie Sweetin, but I had a really big crush on her for a very, very long time, and I feel bad that she became a meth head. I hope she's better. She seems to be better.
She's very much better right now. She is even though Fuller House was very much DJ's show, Stephanie and Kimmy are the heart and soul of the show.
Stephanie is always the best Tanner, and this is that show, but I agree, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, well, no, Stephanie always had the best writing out of all the Tanner kids.
Yeah.
So I can definitely get behind that.
Let's talk about what Corey is there, dressed center field.
Full uniform, by the way.
Full uniform, full uniform, socks, everything.
Yeah.
And I love how he's like, I make $6 million a year. I don't know much stuff. My people buy everything, buildings, floors.
As someone who A, is a sports writer, and B, has covered sports business before, I have to say I was fully on Mr. Feeney's side, because I've seen and read and watched too many stories of professional athletes who lost all their money.
Yeah.
Because they weren't smart about it. Like, I actually just read a book by a former Yankees and Mets pitcher named David Cohn, and he talks about how when he got his signing bonus from the Kansas City Royals, he went out and bought a nice car, but realized on a minor leaguer salary, he wasn't able to make the payments. And so the IRS had to garnish his wages. He got one check, I think it was for $64. And this was in the 80s. So he's pretty much, he said he had to trade the car in. He had to live on fast food for a little bit. And it's a wake-up call for a lot of young athletes. So while it makes sense that Corey wouldn't necessarily understand that part of the business, because 12, 13-year-olds, they're not looking into players' finances or endorsements, not back then at least. But Mr. Feeney was absolutely in the right. Like, hey, like, where's all your money? Do you have investments? Like how are you living off the field? Mm. So
yeah, and then Corey gets home and has a nice scene with Eric. There's barely any Eric in this episode. It's like that one scene.
I mean, this episode, if you think about it, even though it's class Preunion, it's really kind of like a bizarro version of Career Day.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, and on a Career Day episode, there's not much room for the snarky older brother, you know?
Right. And then, we get that really cool scene with Alan talking about how he wanted to build bridges. And this is a very real thing about me, whenever you hear those things, what kind of, in an acting class, now this exercise, what kind of building are you? If you were what kind of buildings, I'm a municipal building, I'm a skyscraper. And I would say I'm a fucking bridge, because I connect people. And I've always loved bridges. I think bridges are so cool.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like, what kind of building? I have to think on that one. I really have to think on that one. But
you're in an arena.
Yeah, maybe, or a stadium.
Yeah.
But I found this scene very sweet, because this is a conversation that every kid has with their parent at some point. It makes me think of the episode of The Wonder Years where Kevin goes to his dad's office for the first time.
Yeah.
And he goes oh, well, my dad's always cranky from work. Why is he so stressed out? Then he goes to work and he sees his, I can curse, right?
Of course you can.
Yeah. So he sees his dad's catching shit from his boss every day, even though he's always thought his dad was the boss. Mm-hmm. So, and having been in a supervisory position before, from an editing standpoint, it is very stressful, because you need to get the best out of your team. And you can motivate, scream, and cheer on until you're blue in the face and get minimal results. And then you've got people behind you breathing down your neck and crawling up your butt trying to get those same results. And then just that scene where God, I forget what Mr. Arnold's first name was on the Wonder Years, but he goes to Kevin and says, "You know what? It's time for my favorite part of the day, the coffee break." And so Kevin realizes, like, this isn't what my dad wanted. He didn't want to be sitting in the office and get yelled at by people all day. And he goes, "Dad, like, is this what you wanted to do with your life?" And then Mr. Arnold, he just kind of like sips the coffee and then just very pensively goes, "No, I wanted to be the captain of a ship."
Yeah.
And like it's almost sad in a way because you see someone who's not working their dream job, but they do have a loving family. They have so many reasons to be positive, but this one thing is draining the life out of them. And yet for the sakes of their family, they just find some way to kind of let go of that dream and just put on the smile and find a way to, I guess, work with what they have. It's like, it's sad, but just knowing that despite that sadness that they found a way to be happy, it's almost soothing.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I don't really have an answer except for, I mean, I agree.
Yeah. It's like, because my dream, obviously I'd like to have my own sports talk show, kind of like a combination Howard Stern sports talk thing.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, I also want to become a really good interviewer. When I was reading David Cohn's book, I interviewed his co-author. His name's Jack Curry, former New York Times writer, currently works for the Yes Network. I spoke with him on the phone for about half an hour and just sitting, talking with him, like going through my notes. I wasn't just interviewing him. We were having a conversation. And Howard Stern has said how after every interview, at the end of the day, like it's after a few hours passed, something will take off in your mind and go, I should have asked that. When I got off the phone with Jack Curry, several hours later, I looked through my notes. I asked everything I wanted to. It's a great feeling to be doing what you're doing, even though it might take a while to get there. And even if I don't get there, just knowing that I have these memories to hang on to and just these ideas, that it's soothing.
Yeah, like I really love interviewing people. I love talking to people so much. Like, it's like one of my big things. Like when I used to podcast, now that I'm doing Markremeetsworld, where I talk to some of them intrigued by every Wednesday for like 30 minutes. It's just a really good feeling of being like, I can talk to someone, I help communicate and tell their story and spread love,
And that's kind of what you're doing with this podcast, because this show, like even though like I was a very casual watcher of it growing up, Ben Savage was a big deal. This show touched a lot of people's lives. This show aired into people's homes every week and made people feel good. And now, thanks to Disney Plus, even more generations have access to it. Remeetsworld opened up a whole new legion of fans to Boy Meets World. And the fact that you love this show so much that you and I are on camera right now talking about it, and that people are going to watch this. I mean, you're growing more fans, man. It's a great thing to do.
It's a great show, and I'm really happy to be able to talk about, like, especially people like I love the fact that you talk about the show people like our age,
Yeah.
And like anyone, like be like, do you remember this? Like, isn't this so cool? Like, it's just a good feeling. Back on to the show, because we're now at the B plot. The peace reconciliation happens, where Amy and the other girl's mom, Stephanie's mom, and Morgan and
Stephanie's mom is a name too. I just forget what it was.
I forgot what it was too.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Because the more meat of this is how Morgan handles her haggling of getting the necklace back. Like, she's like, oh, here's some brownies. Would you like some? Oh, okay.
I mean, who's going to say no to brownies?
Yeah. And then, like, there's just, like, 3 or 4 different things. Just, like, Morgan's, like, going crazy with the haggle. Like, she's, like, kind of like an intense haggler.
In the sports business, this is the kind of trade that we call a fleecing.
Yeah. Well, fleecing is that, like, you just get everything to get back, right?
It's a nicer term for a ripoff.
All right, yeah. And it's just, like, just trying to, like, Morgan, you've been here for 2 insane Morgan episodes.
Yes, I have. She trades a plastic tiara, which she says has real diamonds in it, a brownie for not just her mom's gold necklace, but all of Stephanie's clothes.
Yeah. And like last time you were here, it was the zombie episode where she was just like a zombie that I hanging out. You're always here for you're here for the good Morgan episodes.
Yeah, Morgan is the prime example of when my child is born in 3 months. My wife Kate and I, we will instructing them to fully embrace their weird if it decides to ever come out.
Exactly, that's the most important thing you can do.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because like you see that for a minute, and then you see like kind of like a weird, almost standoffish thing between Stephanie's mom and Amy, and then Stephanie comes out and she's basically in her underwear.
Yeah.
And she's and like you realize that Morgan like haggled her for everything.
Yeah, and plus a first-round draft pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oh god, Stephanie's mom, she walks in, she's like, oh well, my husband's an attorney. I probably drive a Mercedes that I can't pronounce half the technology in it. And she's just sitting there like, oh, I'm so much better than you because of what my husband does. And then she's left like slack-jawed, like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I just got owned by a realtor.
It's so great. And then we get to the special appearance in the episode.
Oh, my heart.
I know you're a big Jim Abbott fan, which is part of the reason
my first ever Yankee game. My first ever Yankee game was the no-hitter he mentions in this episode.
That's so fucking cool.
Labor Day 1993. It was great.
Which is right before this episode aired.
Yeah, they had to. Yeah, they probably aired this episode or shot this episode probably like because the Yankees didn't make the playoffs in '93, so probably October 1st they had Jim Abbott fly in, shoot his scene, and then go.
Yeah, I mean, because this episode aired right around around Thanksgiving. So
yeah.
Well, I guess it would be after Thanksgiving because it's TGIF and it was like the last Friday of that month.
May I give some people the background on Jim Abbott?
Sure, please.
All right, so Jim Abbott's important to this episode because, and it's weird because he was a Yankee when this episode was filmed. Corey has a poster of Jim Abbott in his room, which he tears down after Mr. Feeney gives him an incomplete on his class Preunion assignment. Now, Jim Abbott's story is very significant because he spent close to 10 years in the major leagues despite being born without a right hand. And this is someone who, despite only being born with one hand, threw a no-hitter, spent a long time in the major leagues, turned it into a pretty lucrative career. But he's there to show Corey that, yeah, if you have skill, that's great. You need to be prepared for going into a very competitive field that you might not make it along with several others. And so in which case you need to have something to back you up. Yeah. And in Jim Abbott's case, one of his teachers told him, you want to play baseball? Great. Go get a college degree too. And Jim Abbott, sure enough, went and played college baseball at the University of Michigan. Mm-hmm. And parlayed that into a lucrative baseball career, and now I believe he is a motivational speaker.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
he's great in the episode. Like it's just a really cool episode. Like you find out like that Alan sent him 63 telegrams.
Yeah, as someone in the business, that is not how you communicate with players right now. If you don't want to try to reach out to them over social media, this is for all the sports fans out there who want to write to their favorite player, who have kids who want to write to their favorite player. Find the team that the player plays for or represents. Address the envelope to them. Like I'll use here. Let's say Jim Abbott was with the Yankees right now. You would write to Jim Abbott, care of the New York Yankees, and then Yankee Stadium's address. They will make sure that he gets the message.
Yeah,
they have people specifically for that.
Yeah, and so Jim convinces Corey that he should go to college.
Yeah, and he makes a point. Like, this doesn't mean give up baseball. Just education's important too.
Yeah. And then Corey talks to Feeney and says he's going to go to college. And Feeney returns every ball that went over Corey's fence.
At least 3 Super Bowls. Super Balls, rather.
Yeah. And like a lot of baseballs, like maybe 15.
Yeah, like
there were also like golf balls in there too.
Yeah, and also I noticed this as well. Maybe you did too. I'm wondering if Boy Meets World and Home Improvement shot on the same soundstage because the backyard sets look very similar, just slightly rearranged.
I mean, it's a different fence for sure.
Yeah, different fence, but everything else looks very much the same.
It's not. I mean, they definitely shot the same lot for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, when did Home Improvement start?
Yeah. You know what? We have the internet. Let's find that out. Home Improvement.
Never mind. It's older.
91.
I forgot that's older than Boy Meets World.
Yep, 91 to 99.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like to think that they probably didn't shoot the same lot, but I'm not on the same set. Like that would not make sense to me. But
Either way, it was the generic 90s suburb set.
yeah, that weird catty corner house.
Yeah, and God, of course, Mr. Feeney, like the typical bachelor he is, of course, he also tends to his garden intensely.
That's what he loves to do.
While dressed very nicely at that.
Yeah. Now I want to talk about the absurdity of the post-credit scene, like the the end of the episode.
Yes.
How like this is like the second or third time that Alan and Amy are about to have sex and they get interrupted by a kid. But this is like the weirdest one of them all to me because like they just start making out and then the camera comes over the couch and I'm like, is Corey gonna make a porno of his parents? And he doesn't talk for a long time. And then like he's like, let's get some action. I'm like actual action. I'm like, oh, okay. And like then
kind of reminds me of the episode of Alf where it's season 1 of Alf. And Kate, her mom, played by Ann Mira, is staying with the house, and so Alf has to sleep in the garage as opposed to the attic.
Right.
And so, in protest, he sleeps under Kate and Willie's bed, and then it's determined that he was under there when they were having sex one night. And he's like, I didn't hear a thing. And then he goes, fine, good night, goes back under the bed. And then they're like, wait, let's try this. And then they're just they just start kind of bouncing on the bed, just arbitrarily. And then you hear from underneath, hey, go for it, Willie, underneath the bed. Kind of like in the same vein as Corey going, come on, let's get some action.
Well, like he wants action, like, and then like that, like fights, not like action.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how we all kiss, right?
Yeah, he's a teenager. His hormones are raging.
Yeah. And then Alan chases him out.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, he is definitely about to shoot a sex tape and his parents don't know it.
It happens like that. I mean,
yeah. In some circles, this is very much revenge porn.
In some circles, yes. But in some circles, it's time for the Minkus Minute. Minkus Minute. So let's talk about right off the top of the bat. This is the first time that we ever get a reference to his crush on Topanga.
Yeah.
Also, like a really fun fact that like Minkus definitely starts like a business for the 20, like for the 20, like
yeah, he
definitely went like an office manager of like the bank.
Yeah, list of loan guarantees, list of creditors. He's got everything down to a T because yes, of course he would be a tech billionaire.
Yeah.
And of course it makes sense that Minkus would be attracted to Topanga because not only is she cute, she's very smart.
Right.
Like the nerds are always attracted to smart girls.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, but this was a great, oh God, my favorite Minkus thing. Jim Abbott's on the way over, and then Corey's like, Sean, call everybody! And Minkus shows up with a basketball.
That's the greatest thing ever.
I have the wrong ball. And it just goes to show, like, even if you don't know much about sports, the fact that there's a celebrity in town, you still want to be a part of it.
Yeah, even if you have the wrong ball or no ball or balls.
Well, Jim Abbott was, because I remember I read a book about him when I was a kid because I was a huge fan.
Uh-huh.
He also played basketball, and he played high school football too. I think he was a quarterback.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so born with one hand, and he is a phenomenal athlete across the board.
Nice.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about Betsy Randall being the greatest TV mom in the whole world.
A one, 2, 3, 4. Betsy Randall's the best TV mom. Yeah.
She's so
you go first.
My biggest thing in this episode is it for her when they're making the baseball card and she lights up at the whole like, I'll be 44 years old, and Corey Meets like,
no.
I just love like it's that weird fun spunk that you get from Amy Matthews.
We talked about me dicking around with the video camera when I was a kid. One time for my mom's 38th birthday, I had the camera like, "Hey mom, how's it feel to be 38?" She goes, I'm 28. But it's great how into the idea of this project that Amy Matthews is. She's like, all right, well, here's a photo I can part with for your baseball card. Because anytime that you remember this, anytime there is a school project that involves family photographs, parents get very skittish.
Yes.
So, and today that's not going to happen because everything's digital. Right. But back then, when you only have those hard copies, but she's still so supportive. She's a great mom. She's actually involved in a school project. Best TV mom ever.
Best.
And I want to give her lots of hugs.
Oh, she makes me very happy.
Yeah.
And that's why she's the best mom ever.
Absolutely.
Okay. So wrapping up, we should talk about the episode MVP. This is a tough one. There's a lot of really great people in this episode.
This is tough. Let me think about this. You know what? I'm gonna give the MVP to Roger, and here's why.
Roger.
I'm sorry, Alan. Alan
Okay.
Matthews. Alan.
Okay.
Yeah. Alan Matthews. There was another Roger Matthews on my mind, and he's irrelevant to the show. Ignore that.
Yeah.
No. Alan Matthews is the MVP for me, just because how many dads would go to that level to try and get a face-to-face with an athlete for their kid?
Yeah.
Just to learn an important life lesson. And on top of that, he really opens up about himself. No, I didn't want to manage a giant supermarket. I wanted to build bridges. I wanted to travel. And then he makes the point, you know what? Sometimes as we get older, dreams change. And mine did. Like I said earlier, I wanted to write for SNL. Now I'm not even thinking about that. I'd want to write for them maybe for a week, but I don't know if I'd want it to be a full-time job. I
got a lot of friends for SNL, and it's not the easiest job in the world.
I'm reading this right now.
Oh, such a great book.
Yeah, and just some of the stories that Dan Aykroyd and Lori Newman and Lorne Michaels are saying from the writer's room that first year. I mean, I can only imagine how exhausting it can be, depending on who the guest is.
I think my MVP is also Will Russ, also for Alan Matthews. It's not the biggest episode for him, but he does a lot with like 3 scenes.
Yeah, because like you could easily give it to Feeney for forcing the lesson on Corey. You could give it to Minkus for humor, but it's really without Alan Matthews, the lesson of the episode doesn't drive home as much. Because you do need to have a backup plan if you want to go into something hyper competitive. Mm-hmm. But it means more than just words coming from a teacher or a parent. Like, no, you go right to the source. Now, granted, it's for TV. The odds of that happening in real life, very low. But just the fact that 63 telegrams, and then Alan goes, "You only got 63 of them?" Yeah,
it's also got the true love that he has for his kids there, which is also
the Matthews family is full of Hufflepuffs. To make a Harry Potter reference.
So wrapping up, do you have anything you want to plug or anything, like Twitter or anything?
You can find me on Twitter at JoshBESNY if you're into some Prime Sports content. I post some funny musings there as well. But other than that, that's pretty much it for me. Oh, I have a podcast if you're also into baseball called Yankees Mets Express. We're available on Megaphone, I believe Stitcher. We are on Spotify. Give us a listen. Really, it's a lot of fun.
I mean, as you hear, he's great at talking. One of my favorite people, and I'm so happy that he's here. For me, if you want to follow me on Twitter at MarkLevy85, you'll be seeing a lot of tweets about Sequester recently, which is a game that I became obsessed with like 3 months ago. Also, now that this is on my actual YouTube channel, you'll see on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I have 3 different shows right now called Mark Talk. One of them is a AMA format. One of them is a interview format. One of them is a Brant Steele, which is a survivor/reality simulator. And it's really fun, really silly, and really stupid. And I do that one live. And I do these all live, actually. And I love doing these. And Markremeetsworld is going to be keeping on my actual YouTube page from here on out. New date though, Tuesdays instead of Mondays, just because Monday is a lot of content there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to be part of the show or have questions for the show, markremeetsworld@gmail.com. Easiest way to get in contact with me.
All right.
And yeah, Josh, thank you so much for doing this, man.
Mark, thanks for having me again. This is always a pleasure, never a chore.
I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.